Have you ever stopped to think about where public schools actually came from? I mean, we just take them for granted, right? But not that long ago, the idea that every kid deserved an education, well, that was completely radical. Today, we're diving into the story of the common school movement. We're going to see how this wild dream of a free education for all went from being totally impossible to something we all depend on. So, how did they pull it off? Let's get into it.
And it really all kicks off with this incredible vision from a guy named Horace Mann. I mean, listen to that quote. For him, a school wasn't just a place to learn reading and writing. No, it was a great equalizer, a powerful tool that could literally rebalance the scales of society. This wasn't just a new policy idea. This was the spark for a full-blown social revolution.
But to really get how revolutionary Mann's idea was, we have to look at the world he was trying to fix. And honestly, education in early America was a complete mess. It was this chaotic patchwork of different schools and systems that frankly left most people out in the cold. Okay, so check this out. This table really shows just how all over the place things were. There was no single American education system. Up in the North, you had schools, but they were mostly driven by Puritan religious beliefs and mainly for white boys. In the Middle colonies, it was a bit of a free-for-all. Lots of different options, but you had to belong to the right religion, and you guessed it, you had to be able to pay. And down south, well, if your family didn't own a plantation, good luck. You were pretty much on your own. This wasn't a system at all. And here's the real kicker. For almost everyone, education was a privilege, not a right. If you were poor, getting your kid into a school might mean you had to sign a pauper's oath, basically a public declaration that you were destitute. If you were a girl, school often stopped as soon as you could read the Bible. And for Black Americans and Native Americans, that door to education was almost completely sealed shut. This was the incredibly unequal world these reformers were stepping into. But then, things started to shift. As America rolled into the 1800s, a new kind of political energy was bubbling up, an idea that would tie education right into the very heart of what it meant to be a democracy. The election of Andrew Jackson in 1828 was a real game changer. Suddenly, the voices of farmers, city workers, laborers, the so-called common people were breaking through, and they were demanding a real say in how the country was run. Their argument was pretty simple and really powerful. Hey, if we're supposed to vote, if we're supposed to be part of this democracy, then we need to be educated. It wasn't some luxury for them. It was about survival. So what was their big idea? The common school. And it was based on a few principles that were, at the time, absolutely revolutionary. 1, everybody gets to go. Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. 2, we all chip in. It's paid for by taxes, so the whole community supports it. And 3, it's where we learn to be Americans, creating a common culture. Sound familiar? It should. This was the birth of the public elementary school as we know it. But an idea this big, this controversial, it needed more than just a groundswell of support. It needed a champion. It needed someone who could fight for it day in and day out. And that person was Horace Mann. Mann was the first ever secretary of the Massachusetts Board of Education. And he wasn't just some stuffy politician. He was a brilliant and totally relentless crusader. He went on a mission, a public campaign that was so successful, he earned the title that he still has today, the father of the public school. So how in the world did he sell this thing? This is where Mann was just a genius. He basically had a sales pitch for everybody. To all the business owners, he'd say, listen, educated workers are going to be more productive, more innovative, you'll make more money. To the idealists, he promised, we'll find the next genius, whether they're from a mansion or a shack. And to a country that was worried about social unrest, he argued, common schools will bring us together, creating harmony and shared values. He had an answer for everyone. But let's be clear, this was not an easy sell. Not at all. The very idea of a free, universal education was met with some serious, powerful pushback from all over the place. This turned into a real battle for the future of the country. I mean, the resistance was fierce. You had factory owners who looked at kids and saw cheap labor, not students. You had taxpayers who were absolutely livid about having to pay for somebody else's kid to go to school. Private schools and religious schools, they were terrified of the competition from a free alternative. And then you just had folks who were deeply skeptical, worried that if you educated everybody, well, they might just start asking too many questions and challenging the people in charge. But here's the amazing part. Despite all that opposition, the movement didn't just survive. It actually won. Over decades of nonstop work, this radical idea, born from a democratic dream, slowly became a cornerstone of American society. And you can really see that progress right here on this timeline. It all kicks off with that political earthquake in 1828. Then, in 37, Horace Mann jumps in and just pours gasoline on the fire. It takes decades, but then you get this huge court case in Kalamazoo that makes public high schools possible. And by the time the Civil War rolls around, the public school isn't some crazy dream anymore. It's a reality in most states. The result of all this effort was, well, it was stunning. As the historian Lawrence Kremen points out, in just a few decades, they had completely changed the country. For the first time ever, a majority of states had public schools, and about half of all the kids in the nation were actually getting a formal education. So, the Common School movement made it happen. They did it with a powerful democratic vision and a champion who knew how to appeal to both the nation's ideals and its wallet. But it does leave us with a pretty big question, right? Horace Mann's ultimate dream was for schools to be that balance wheel for society, the great equalizer. So when you look around today, do you think they are? That's definitely something to think about.